So मेरा next question is that are all fears irrational or can fear be healthy response to some situations? क्या डर किसी situation के लिए अच्छा भी हो सकता है?
It's such a beautiful question. See, all fears are not irrational. Even a phobia is not irrational. It is what you do with that fear that makes it irrational. Because we just looked at the fact that fear is learned. Right? Now, fear is learned into multiply the number of times that you have to encounter that fear. And the reaction to it makes you behave irrationally, saying, मैं साइकिल से पहले बार गिरी, दूसरी बार गिरी, तीसरी बार गिरी, मुझे साइकिल चलाना ही नहीं है. That becomes irrational. क्योंकि मुझे गिरने से डर है. एंड गिरने का डर इसलिए क्योंकि मुझे चोट लगने की डर है, क्योंकि आई कैन नॉट टॉलरेट दैट पेन बिकॉज माई मदर हैज टॉट मी दैट पेन इज नॉट गुड. आप गिरे, मम्मी रोई. तो it becomes like a irrational relationship with the source of fear. So fear itself can never be irrational. It is how you respond and how you react and what you do with that fear that makes you irrational in your choices. Then you stop experiencing. You don't want to go out. For instance, आप एक सी फूड रेस्टोरेंट में गए थे, वहां पे आपने क्रैब खाया, फूड पॉइजनिंग हो गया. इसके बाद बस क्रैब इज द वर्स्ट थिंग टू ईट, मैं कभी नहीं खाऊंगी. नेक्स्ट टाइम यू गो टू द रेस्टोरेंट, मुंह में पानी आ रहा है पर क्रैब नहीं खा रहे हो. फिर जहां पे भी आप क्रैब के बारे में सोचोगे, यू विल गेट सो स्केयर ऑफ द क्रैब. बट द फैक्ट इज दैट ठीक है, वो एक हादसा थी, इट वाज एन इंसिडेंट. कैन आई ट्राई टू ईट दैट क्रैब अगेन एंड ओवरकम इट? It is the smallest thing that makes you irrational in your behaviors over a period of time. Go back to that smallest trigger point to rationalize your behaviors.
I mean, this is very interesting that how you respond to the dar is irrational or a healthy way. So I would also like to ask can you explain the fight or flight response and how it relates to fear? डर के साथ इसका क्या relation है?
See, what happens as a natural response or reaction to fear, there are two things that either happens. या तो वो fear की वजह से आप भागोगे, या तो वहां पे आप एकदम पैरालाइज होकर खड़े रह पाओगे. Now either of them is not dealing with the fear, but that doesn't mean कि चलो आप सुनसान रात को चल रहे हैं और वहां पे एक डरावनी सा, just imagine someone very dark and scary is walking there. If you're paralyzed in that moment, then it's not the right kind of response because that guy is probably coming to attack you. But if you irrationally fly at that moment, you could trip and fall. The idea in the moment of fear, when the trigger of fear comes in, you need to anchor, breathe, and then rationally run. So irrational flight and irrational staying in that point, irrationally, just staying in that point is not going to allow you to respond. The problem with any kind of emotional aspect is how we react or respond to it. So fight or flight is basically a reaction. A response would be coming through mindful awareness of the situation in front of you. But obviously in that moment, now people will say, but in that moment, I'm in that dark street, that dark person has come in, I need to run. But the next day, sit down and ask yourself, how better could you have dealt with that situation? What was that fear? Was it the darkness? Was it that person? Where did it come from? Because not every dark looking person on a dark street is here to attack you. Maybe he's here to help you too. But you're not connected to your instincts. Instinctively, you will respond.
I mean, this is very relatable. The the kind of incidents you mentioned is very relatable to all of us. तो अब बढ़ते हैं आगे और ये मेरा फेवरेट क्वेश्चन है. What are some of the misconceptions people have about fear? I mean, you have interacted with so many people. What are some of the most funniest and most serious misconceptions people have about fear?
The biggest one, you are so weak if you fear. हो, आपको डर लगता है, कितने कमजोर हो आप. No, fear is not a sign of weakness. Fear is a sign that tells you get up and face your fears, because courage is at the other end. You know, एक और चीज है जो fear के बारे में ये है कि fear, the root cause of fear is ignorance. जब आप जानते नहीं हो ना, तो आप उस चीज से बहुत डरोगे. जैसे you get married, for the first time you have to get into the kitchen. आपने कभी किचन में गए नहीं, आपको फर्क नहीं पड़ता है शुगर एंड सॉल्ट के बीच में क्या फर्क है, क्योंकि आप उस बारे में जानते ही नहीं हो. तो फिर डर लगता है कि आज जो मुझे मम्मी पापा और हस्बैंड के लिए चाय बनानी है वो सही बनेगा. आपको डर है क्योंकि आपको पता ही नहीं है उस चीज का कि हाउ डू यू डू इट. बट व्हेन यू हैव द नॉलेज, then the fear becomes far less and the process becomes far bigger. So people think that fear, of the unknown is the only thing that is unknown. Any fear source is from ignorance. And when you gather knowledge and you gather understanding, then you're working against the fear and working with a lot of courage, because the opposite of fear is courage. And the basis of courage is knowledge and understanding. So misconception कि कमजोर लोग हैं जो डरते हैं. आप कमजोर नहीं हैं अगर आप डरते हैं. बस आप ये चीज पहचानो कि जिसके बारे में आप कुछ जानते नहीं हैं, आप उसी चीज से ज्यादा डरते हैं. Ignorance is a cause of fear and not weakness of personality. जैसे माँ बाप भी आते हैं, मेरा बच्चा देखो कितना कमजोर है, वो तो स्ट्रॉन्ग बच्चों जैसा नहीं है. जो दूसरे बच्चे इतने स्ट्रॉन्ग रहते हैं उनको इसमें डर नहीं है, पर मेरा तो बच्चा इतना डरपोक है. अरे आपके बच्चा इतना डरपोक इसलिए है क्योंकि उनको जानकारी नहीं है that it is okay, this situation is not a scary situation. Darkness is not a bad thing. You're scared of dark because you can't find. But if you know how to find, then you're not scared of dark.
Right. और हम बहुत आसानी से बोल देते हैं कि तुम्हें डर लगता है, तुम बहुत वीक हो. This is correct. So, हमने इस बारे में ऑलरेडी बात कर ली है कि हमारे पास्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस से हमें फियर आता है, बट आई स्टिल वांट कि आप इस पे और थोड़ा सा बताएं दैट हाउ डज आवर पास्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस शेप आवर फियर्स इन द प्रेजेंट.
See, let's work around one kind of fear that you have had from your childhood and you see it reflecting every time now and then. Let's do a case study right now on one fear that you would like to work with at this point.
So मुझे हर टाइम एक चीज का बहुत डर लगता है कि आई शुड नेवर बी अलोन. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हमेशा मेरे आसपास कोई होना ही चाहिए.
ओके, एंड ये अब तक आपके साथ ये डर रहता है?
ये अभी तक है.
सो नाउ रैंडमली, ज्यादा सोच मत डालो इसमें. गो बैक टू द फर्स्ट टाइम यू प्रोबेबली एक्सपीरियंस्ड बीइंग अलोन एंड व्हाट हैपेंड देन.
तो जब मैं छोटी थी तो मेरे मम्मी पापा दोनों चले जाते थे. They were both working. And one day what happened is I locked the door. My grandmom was outside. And I locked the door. Now I don't know how to open it. And now my grandmom has to come inside. And I am not able to open the door. And she's saying, open. I'm saying, I cannot open. I was so small that I don't know how to open the door, latch of this door now. But I closed it. And from that time, it was an afternoon time. Parents will come in the evening. My brother is also has come from the school. He's also standing outside, and everybody is bashing on me कि खोल दरवाजा खोलो ऐसे खोलो, और मुझसे नहीं हो रहा था. And then they said कि ठीक है. फिर वो they went to the neighbor's house and sat there for some time. But during that time when nobody was there and I was alone inside, I was so scared कि सब लोग चले गए हैं.
Okay. Now, if you have to go back to that incident, which you've done beautifully, if you could go back and tell the Gunjan of that age, how old were you when this incident happened?
I was 4.5.
You were 4.5. Now, just imagine you've gone back to that room and you're seeing Gunjan very scared. What would you tell her at this point to calm her down? Tell her.
तो आई वुड से कि वो कितनी देर तक बाहर खड़े रहेंगे ना, वो साथ में ही बैठे हैं. इट्स ओके, डरने की जरूरत नहीं है. अगर कुछ चाहिए तो उन्हें आवाज मार के बुला के पूछ लो या बता दो जो भी बात करनी है.
Okay. Just imagine that she's in front of you and you talk to her. Talk to her right now and tell her whatever it is. Reassure her.
कोई बात नहीं, होता रहता है. नहीं आती अभी, अभी मम्मी पापा आएंगे, वो कुछ ना कुछ करेंगे, खुल जाएगा दरवाजा. दरवाजा तो खुल ही जाएगा, डोंट वरी. और जहां तक बात है कि ग्रैंड मॉम एंड भाई नहीं है अब यहाँ पे, तो उन्हें तो आवाज मार के बुला के उनसे आराम से बात करो. कुछ चाहिए खाने को, पानी पीना है, कुछ भी चाहिए तो आप तो घर के अंदर ही हो, ले लो.
Okay. Now, how about solving it for her and taking her out of that house? How would you guide her towards that? How would you comfort her?
तो मैं उसे ये बोलूंगी दैट ओपन द विंडो, जो साथ वाली विंडो है उसको खोल लेते हैं. एंड उसमें से अब या तो भाई भी छोटा ही है, वो आ जाएगा अंदर और खोल देगा विंडो में से, या फिर वी हैव टू कॉल अ मैकेनिक टू कट द विंडो. थोड़ी छोटी सी ओपनिंग करनी पड़ेगी उसको कट करके, एंड देन भाई विल कम एंड ही विल ओपन.
Okay.
The solution is simple.
Okay. How is she feeling? Now that you are resolving it for her, how is she feeling?
She's smiling.
She's smiling. Now, bring her to the present and tell me how much of that fear of being alone is still there as compared to when you asked me this question.
No, it's very less.
When we reparent our child who first experienced that fear, we are already coming to overcome that fear. So now that's another thing, right? I was ignorant of the possibilities of how to open this door, so I was fearing it even more. There's another way somebody else would have said, I would have told her, breathe, relax, थोड़ा पानी पी लो, रोने की जरूरत नहीं है. अभी जिस तरह से आपने दरवाजा बंद किया, उसी तरह से उल्टा करके उस दरवाजे को खोल दो. And then suddenly you found the solution, and today you realize there's nothing to fear being alone. Because fear was learned then by the incident.
Right. तो डर भी क्या डिफरेंट टाइप्स के होते हैं, एंड अगर होते हैं तो हाउ डू दे मैनिफेस्ट इमोशनली?
So डर at the very core of it is one thing, डर. Now I fear darkness, I fear light, I fear water, I fear swimming, I fear recording this podcast, I fear failure, I fear success. It is the objects that take a different form or the source of fear that is different. And another thing that is different is your reaction to it. But at the core of it, it is ignorance. It is not knowing how to relate, how to solve the issue, how to emerge through it, how to come out of it. And before you know how to, go into why. I have fear of being alone. Let me go to why. Because at the age of 4.5, I got locked into the house on my own and I did not know what to do. But can I go and resolve it then to be able to overcome it right now? So the why, the how, and what to do. That is where, irrespective of the kinds of fears that you go through, it boils down to one and the same thing. It's a call out to action. It's a call out to let's resolve this. Every emotion that we're battling with right now is a call out to attention because there's a trigger point that is lying deep down there.
What are emotions? Are they responses or reactions to feelings, thoughts? Are they stored within our body or do they come from outer space? Are they responses to our feelings or our thoughts? What are emotions? Join me, Karishma Chhatrapati, an emotional wellness expert, inspirational speaker, and author, as I take you through a journey decoding emotions so that you thrive in emotional wellness and use emotional intelligence to live your best life ever.